Here's a view from the Radisson Plaza Hotel. We'll take a look at a local fundraiser with lots of food and lots of fun coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in the Radisson Plaza Hotel, Myrtle Beach Convention Center. We're focused on the March of Dimes Star Chefs event, which kicks off this Thursday night. And we're visiting with Maureen Vicaria, the Associate State Director of the March of Dimes South Carolina chapter. Good morning, Maureen.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much for coming in to kick off the week. And we're just 3 days away. It's this Thursday.
Thank you for having me. We're very excited.
Absolutely. You've got to be. How to think about these Star Chefs events have been around for quite a while.
We've been doing it for about 20 years with the foundation, the March of Dimes Foundation, and this is about our 7th year here in Myrtle Beach.
I learned so much about the March of Dimes last week. We were in Marion at the Marion Medical Center, focused on the Marion and Marlboro Walk Americas. And it was so exciting hearing Joe Fisher talk about all the activities, how March of Dimes were set up. It was as long ago as it was 1971.
Actually, the foundation was started by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1938, so we go way back.
That's exactly.
We were the first health organization that was set up for the American people to actually contribute. In 1938, FDR set up the March of Dimes to combat polio. He took it to the American people because it was something that was frightening our families and crippling our children. So we've been around since 1938. When the Salk vaccine was found in the late 1950s, we expanded our mission to do more than combat one specific problem.
Right. I wonder what it was in 1971. Maybe Walk America's kicked
Walk America.
off. Aha,
you had that right.
That was
Walk
a great
America
date.
started. March of Dimes invented the walking concept.
Yeah.
And 1971 was the first time that we did what we called a walkathon back then, and now it's called Walk America.
Which is wonderful. Of course, in this area, the heart walks are so big, and obviously the Walk Americas are getting gigantic.
Correct.
It is fantastic to see the turnouts at some of these events.
We're so excited about it because it really looks different in different communities. Here in Myrtle Beach, we walk on the beach, and we have a large walk here, but in the PD area, we have a walk in Dillon and Marion and Mullins and Bennettsville and Marlboro, and it's really a slice of Americana because you see folks come out there and just give it their all, no matter how small the community.
Absolutely. Today, November 3rd, the Marion Walk was just a couple days ago, and obviously the Marlboro Walk is this Saturday, so it's exciting to think about so many events. But of course, this Thursday, the Star Chefs event. Thanks again for coming in. About yourself, Maureen, are you originally from the area?
I'm not. I'm originally from Miami. I was actually born in Spain where my father was going to medical school, and he's a Cuban-American who immigrated from Cuba, fled Castro, and met my mom, who is a redhead New Yorker.
Yeah.
So my parents are Desi and Lucy. And I was raised in Miami, and I came to South Carolina about 8 years ago and love it.
Family with you in South Carolina?
I do.
Great.
I do.
Great. So you moved here about 8 years ago. What prompted that move?
It was a job move from what now is my ex-husband, and he got a job with the University of South Carolina, and I came up here and fell in love with South Carolina, so I've become a real South Carolinian now.
So how did you come to your position with the March of Dimes?
I have a degree in anthropology and public health, and believe it or not, they fit together with this job. In public health, I specialized in medical anthropology, and in the medical side of public health.
Right.
And when I moved to South Carolina, I was looking for a job in the field, and there was a part-time opening, so I took that so that I can continue doing some of my travel and international health that I was doing, and it grew into a full-time job, and I stuck with it and love it because it really is carrying out my degree.
So the March of Dimes mission is really following your interest and background.
It really is. It's public health at its best in that you're taking mission messages out to the masses and making changes on a large scale, not clinical one-on-one with a doctor and a patient in a room together, but doing things in a larger public scale.
Maureen, share with the viewers real quick about, obviously, when you became the Associate State Director, but in particular, what regions and projects are you responsible for covering?
Okay. I am the Associate State Director, so Paula Howell is our statewide director, so she has responsibility for the entire state of South Carolina. My focus is on the mission side of what we do and the advocacy side of what we do. So all the legislative things that the March of Dimes does to advocate for policies that help moms and babies is under my umbrella. And I'm also in charge of fundraising for the PD area, the Low Country area, and then the Rock Hill area. So all of our events, Walk America, Star Chefs,
Right.
we do different events in those communities, and that's all under my umbrella.
And you all had the March of Dimes Ride for Babies just a little more than a week
We
ago
did.
in Horry County, which kicked off, which I hope was a big success.
That's new for us, but really fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
The second
fun.
annual, of course, Lance Thompson came in a little more than a month ago to highlight that for us, and it was so great.
Lance is great.
he
Yeah, we
is
had a great showing out there last
a
weekend.
true superstar. And we opened up a little bit with that brief history of the March of Dimes, and when you think about FDR's the involvement right at the get-go, the original mission was to fight, as you said, polio.
Correct, correct. Polio is crippling our nation's children, and we didn't know what caused it. So, as I said, FDR took it to the nation's people and said, we are not going to wait for government to find a cure or a vaccine for this. We're going to take it to the American people. So that was during the Depression in the 1930s. And Eddie Cantor was a radio personality back then, and he became a spokesperson for March of Dimes, and he made an appeal to say, this is the Depression, but everybody can afford a dime. So he asked everybody to send their dimes into the White House, and they were deluged with dimes, and we got the term March of Dimes from there.
How exciting.
It is really neat.
That
It's really
really
neat.
is cool.
And so we have a book now called 10 Billion Dimes, because 10 billion dimes later, we've really expanded our mission, and we're doing so much more for families and babies now.
Absolutely. Well, what do you think about the original significance of the walk to raise funds for the research to cure polio? The significance of that is very exciting.
And it is very literal, walk for children who cannot. So back then it was really taken as a literal idea that we started with the idea of keeping children out of wheelchairs and keeping children away from crutches, and walk for those children who can't, or let's walk for children that we don't want to end up in a wheelchair. So that's where that all started. And now there's a walk every weekend for different causes and different organizations, and we're really proud to be able to say that we invented that concept.
Last Wednesday, we were visiting with Beth Hucks and Madeline Hucks. Madeline ran out on the scene, which was wonderful. Madeline Hucks is the ambassador baby in Marion County.
Exactly.
So exciting to see that idea of an ambassador baby. And of course, Joe Fisher and Beth were both talking about Madeline's in the in her stroller, leading the parade right behind the police, and really the whole crew following behind the ambassador baby. Is that commonly done?
That is. In every community across the nation, we have ambassador families. They used to be called poster children in the old days, and that term doesn't have a great connotation anymore. But back in the 1930s, the March of Dimes invented that term poster child, and now, as you know, it's used in different ways. So in the 80s, we moved away from that, and it's called an ambassador child. And oftentimes they're a healthy child that's been helped by the March of Dimes. And they're not a child that has current disabilities. But in every community, if you look at Marion or Mullins or Myrtle Beach or Beaufort or Greenville, every community has an ambassador child, and they put the face of the March of Dimes out there, that it's not a nameless, faceless thing that you're contributing to, but they're real families that we're helping.
It is a great idea to get an ambassador family, and particularly an ambassador baby. That
It
truly
is.
makes a big difference in a community, I'm sure.
Absolutely, it really does.
How would you describe, we got about 5 minutes, Maureen, how would
Okay.
you describe the prevalence of premature births here in South Carolina? And if you're familiar at all with North Carolina, but particularly on South Carolina, how many are born each week, each year?
I'm really glad you asked me about that, because that leads me to talk to you a little bit about the premature birth campaign that we launched in January. Nationwide, 460,000 babies are born prematurely every year. That comes down to about 147 babies per week right here in South Carolina. We want to put it on the nation's radar screen like HIV and breast cancer. It's a silent killer, it's a silent crisis, and we want people to be thinking about it, not just thinking it's the neighbor down the street, but it's affecting so many of our families. These are babies that are born too soon and too small, and they face an uphill battle for the rest of their life if they survive. Years ago, a 4 or 5 pound baby was seen as a medical miracle. Well, now the technology has brought us to the point where a 2-pound baby, even a 1.5-pound baby can survive. But the downside of that is often they go on to have lifelong disabilities, vision problems, hearing problems, development problems. So it really is a crisis that's facing our country.
Golly, and when you think about some of the health risks that babies face, premature babies face, those Beth talked a little bit about them last week when we were visiting with her, but
Exactly.
the most prevalent ones would be
The vision problems and the developmental delays. These are kids that need a lot of special needs help once they get into school. And the real mystery, Greg, is why is this on the increase? This is not something we really have a handle on, and that's why we're raising money through March of Dimes, is to try to figure this out. 50% of cases are for no known cause. So you can have a mom that does everything right, takes her vitamins, goes to the doctors, exercises, eats well, and still goes into preterm labor. That's half of the cases. We do not know why that's happening. And there's been a 27% increase since the early 80s. So this campaign is about finding the research dollars that we need to figure out this medical mystery, and then teaching women in South Carolina about the signs of preterm labor, so when you're in it, you know to get to the doctor. And lots of education activities, teaching women about not smoking during pregnancy and other things that you can do to help reduce your risk.
right. And some of these funds are truly being spent in South Carolina.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the things that I love about working with the March of Dimes. 91 cents to the dollar here in South Carolina is spent on program services. It's an outstanding record, and we give about $900,000 in community grants right here in South Carolina. So we can really feel great about the money that's raised in Star Chefs or Motorcycle Ride or Walk America, coming back and really touching the lives of South Carolinians.
And if someone was to ask you how successful the March of Dimes efforts have been in really reducing birth defects here in South Carolina, you can talk about success stories.
I certainly can. One of our best success stories has been reducing serious birth defects of the brain and spine. These are called neural tube defects. And since we started a campaign in 1992 and teamed with some other organizations in South Carolina, we've been able to decrease the rate of serious birth defects of the brain and spine by 50% here in South Carolina. And that's teaching women to take the B vitamin, folic acid, right before pregnancy and during those early weeks of pregnancy. So we have a track record of success, and we know if we really put our minds to it, we can succeed right here in South Carolina.
Maureen, we've got a little more to minute. Of course, you're kicking off the week. We've got 2.5 days focused on the Star Chefs event. Share with the viewers real quick what they're going to miss if they're not here this Thursday night.
You have to be here for Thursday night.
Yeah.
It's going to be wonderful. Gourmet sampling from the best chefs in Myrtle Beach, and it's a USO theme. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of red, white, and blue. There's going to be the Myrtle Beach Big Band, a lot of excitement, a lot of food, live and silent auction packages.
Yeah, that's right. So there's a heck of a lot going on. And when you talk about a USO theme, for folks who may not be familiar with that, I'm sure most of my viewers are.
We're taking a step back in time to those days when, around World War II, when there were USO dances to help raise money for families that had kids off to war. So it's a kind of a fun, patriotic theme and sort of a nod to the past.
Yeah, great thinking. And now these Star Chefs events are held nationally. These are reproduced all over the country.
Correct. And Myrtle Beach is the only one that's going to have this USO theme. It's our local committee, and our local volunteers came up with that really unique theme.
That's wonderful. Lastly, Maureen, what do you like best about what you're doing as the Associate State Director for the March of Dimes?
I like knowing that I'm making a difference in the lives of families, really touching families' lives, and it's not a abstract thing. As we go around the state, I can look in the eyes of a child and know that I made a difference. And it sounds corny, but it really is true, that every morning I know that I'm not just selling a product, but selling dreams to families.
Making a difference daily and saving babies together. It's a simple message, but it has to happen together. You can take a part of that. Be here this Thursday night, Radisson Plaza Hotel, Myrtle Beach, for the Star Chefs event. Thanks again, Maureen, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to Nick Sherfesee coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning, Radisson Plaza Hotel, Myrtle Beach. We're focused on the Star Chefs event to benefit the March of Dimes, which kicks off this Thursday night. And we're visiting with Nick Sherfesee, the Senior Vice President and Community Banker with Wachovia Bank. and the chairman of the board for the PD region of the March of Dimes. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning. How are you, Greg?
Golly, thanks so much for getting in. It was so exciting. Maureen Vicaria was just in moments ago, and hearing her talk about so many activities with the March of Dimes and all the excitement getting ready for this Thursday night's event. You all have been planning this for quite a while.
Oh, yeah. We've been working on this thing since this time last year. It takes about a whole year to put it together, and they've been hard at it for the last 5 months.
Well, Tanya Spears is going to come in. I guess she'll be coming in on Wednesday, and of course James Clark and Kim Lloyd in tomorrow. It's so exciting just to think we're this close.
It's this close, and it's going to be a great event.
And the tickets have been selling real well.
Oh, we're looking very well, and it's going to become a hot ticket, so get your tickets now.
Yes.
We only have a couple more days.
Absolutely. Nick, but what about yourself? Are you, for viewers in the PD or the southeastern North Carolina who may not have met you in the area, where are you from originally?
I would like to think I'm a native of Myrtle Beach since I've been here 10 years, but I'm originally from Philadelphia, or the southern New Jersey, Metro Philadelphia area. But I kind of ended up down here because of my father's family is all from Charleston, and I went to the Citadel and had to keep the family tradition going.
Yes. Did your dad go to the Citadel?
He did.
Is that right? Do you have family with you here in the area?
I do. I have my wife, Kim, and I have a son who lives in Hilton Head. His name is Carl. And my other child, Mary, lives in Jacksonville, Florida.
Great. Good. So they're all on the southern part of the East Coast.
We can get to each other quickly.
Yes, very easily. Jacksonville's not a bad trip. What brought you to Myrtle Beach, Nick, and what have you been doing prior to your relocation?
I've been in banking for a long time, and was down in Gainesville, Florida. I was a commercial banker with First Union down there. And I had been trying to get back to South Carolina for years. I had left South Carolina originally in 1967 and had been trying ever since to figure out a way to get back. And I wanted to stay in the banking field, so I went ahead and kept looking for opportunities. And I was with First Union at the time, and they posted for a job here for the market president locally in Myrtle Beach. I posted for the job and was fortunate enough to get it, and that was back in 1993.
Golly, Nick. Now, when you were at the Citadel, did you study? I mean, was there a career track for banking, or had you studied finance or accounting, or what's the normal avenue for getting into banking?
Well, a lot of people have asked me that. They said, how does shining shoes and blitzing brass get you into the banking business? Well, maybe the attention to detail helps out quite a bit. But in reality, yes, they have a wonderful business administration program there, and I had majored in business administration with an emphasis in accounting.
And so you think that's what prompted you in pursuing a financial services career?
No.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it. Go.
I always wanted to be a banker.
Is that right?
Always. Ever since I was a little boy. Don't ask me why. My father wasn't a banker. There were no bankers in my family. I just wanted to be a banker. Maybe it's because my dad complained about them all the time.
What about this? Don't ask me why. We've got to ask you why. That's what this is about. I mean, that's a big deal. But you said, who was a banker? You knew some bankers.
I knew that my father talked about them a lot.
Yeah.
He was an accountant. But really, the Citadel prepared me well for that.
That's fantastic. I know I opened up there with you, the community banker for Wachovia Bank. I mean, what exactly does that mean, Nick?
Well, the community banker is what the large banks have done over the last several years. They've gotten so big, and they centralized their operations elsewhere, and there was a lack of local autonomy. Wachovia realized this after the merger with First Union and said, we really have some significant ability to do great things in our market if we only had decision makers here locally. So they have carved out Myrtle Beach as a separate community bank with local autonomy right here.
Is that right?
So we're able to better serve our customers and the folks who live in the area.
How exciting, Nick. Well, of course, to see the transition, how do you feel the First Union Wachovia merger has benefited the community?
I think that it has benefited greatly. Wachovia had a tremendous presence here, and First Union also had a very good presence with its sales culture and its product mix. Between the two, we have come up with anything and everything that you would ever want in banking. If you can think of it, we're doing it. Coupled with the fact that Dale Zeglin, the market president here, and myself are capable of delivering all those services locally without having to go to Charlotte or Philadelphia, wherever.
Now, for really large loans, you still get a little help from the folks in Charlotte or Atlanta or wherever.
Absolutely.
Right.
We can bring in the big guns when we have to.
Right.
But Myrtle Beach is an entrepreneurial market with
Yes.
a lot of mom and pop type businesses, and it kind of suits what we do well without having to go
Well, Nick,
for the help.
that probably scares some of the local community banks or community bankers, knowing there is this giant a behemoth like Wachovia, but still having that community banker focus.
Well, I don't know. There's plenty of room for all of us here,
Right,
so
right.
We all try to get along. But
Yeah.
I would think that if I were a community banker out there, I'd be kind of watching.
Mhm. At the end of this week, Don Perry from Lakewood Camping Resorts coming in, and he was one of the founding directors of Sun Bank, a community bank on the south strand of Myrtle Beach, and looking forward to hearing a little bit about community banks in general. That's exciting. What was your first involvement as a March of Dimes volunteer, Nick?
Actually, Greg, it goes back to when I was in grade school. A lot of folks that are my age will remember when we had our little cards given to us, and we would go out and collect dimes. And that was for polio research. I did that for several years, and then I kind of drifted away from the March of Dimes and got actively involved with First Union down in Gainesville, Florida, when I lived there. We started doing the March of Dimes Walk America walks down there.
In Gainesville.
In Gainesville, and got very involved and just followed through with that and expanded on that after I got here to Brunswick.
It was so exciting hearing Maureen talk a little bit about that a few minutes ago about, was it Freddie Cantor, or the disc jockey who had encouraged folks to send dimes to Washington back in the late 30s, early 40s, and how many folks sent them.
Oh, yeah. And you figure a dime back then is like at least $1 today or more. You know,
that's right.
And this was during the Depression. So, people have realized that there's a need for March of Dimes research and funding and all the good things that March of Dimes could do. Back then it was polio. Now it's prematurity and birth defects. This money does go to a good use, and it is well defined, and we know what we're out there working for, Greg.
Now, Nick, what do you think prompted you, obviously knowing the March of Dimes, such a great organization, there was the PD Division Board has recently been set up. You're the chairman of the board. How'd y'all go about organizing the board and making a decision that it would be the PD Division would have it headquartered here in Horry County?
Well, the largest walk in the PD area has been in Horry County, and also the largest chef's auction, Star Chef's auction, and all the other events. Our leadership, our staff leadership, lives in Horry County, and it just made sense to have it here. Our offices are on Conway so that we can support our other communities like Marion and Mullins and Dillon and Loris and places like that conveniently, but still in all, our leadership has been here with just a few exceptions over the years.
We've got a little less than 5 minutes, Nick. Has Wachovia been supportive of your activities with the March of Dimes?
I couldn't do it without them. I mean, this is something that's been encouraged. As a matter of fact, Wachovia, the National Volunteer Leadership Conference, this last 2 weeks ago in Washington, D.C., was given kudos for raising over $1.5 million for the March of Dimes.
No. Is that right? That's just within Wachovia?
Just within Wachovia.
Golly, Nick. That's
so
amazing.
We're very proud of that. There has been corporate emphasis on the March of Dimes ever since I've been with the company back when it was First Union.
And what do you think's impressed you the most about the organization of the March of Dimes?
It's very lean, very, very lean. Very few staff. It is a broad base of community volunteer support. Back when March of Dimes was working on its polio, and they put together this wonderful, wonderful group of volunteers nationwide. And when, through March of Dimes research, they conquered polio with the Salk vaccine, they looked around and said, geez, we have this great volunteer corps. What are we going to do with them? Well, birth defects were still out there. Prematurity was still out there. Neural tube defects were still out there. And so they went ahead and just expanded and went into these other areas. But what makes us so strong is our very wide base of community support and very strong leadership in its volunteer corps.
Yes, very definitely. Let's talk for a couple minutes about this Thursday night's event. And obviously it's this close, and y'all have been selling tables and tickets like gangbusters. It's a USO theme, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's right. Some folks will be in black tie, a lot of folks USO.
It'll be fun. If anybody has some old uniforms you can still fit into, bring them along. That might be fun. But it's not a costume ball, but it's going to definitely be USO themed, right down to the 1940s cigarette and cigar girls.
Oh, wow.
It'll just, they're following the theme all the way through. It's
Folks
gonna
ought
be
to
a lot
just
of
get
fun.
out here for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
And what about Radisson Plaza Hotel? Are they getting them on board this year as a big sponsor of the event?
What a fabulous addition to the March of Dimes. Michael Porter and his entire crew here and his wife Debbie have just gone overboard to make certain that this thing is a success. We couldn't do it without them.
Is there a goal for this year's event, Nick?
$45,000 is our goal.
Right.
My sense is that we will meet that and exceed it.
Great. Golly, Nick, you got to be pumped, not
Very
only from the
hopeful
board
about that.
perspective, but also
Yeah.
just wanting the event to do well. And, of course, you all have had so many events recently. I think just last week was the Ride for Babies, of
Right.
course, a big one there. And this past weekend was the Marion County Walk America. Next weekend, or this upcoming weekend's the Marlborough County Walk America. Right after. I mean, there's just so many things going on within the PD division. How do you have time for all this?
It's really for a great cause. When you figure that we've all had children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, if they were born healthy, thank goodness for the March of Dimes research that went a long way in helping them. If they were not born healthy or if they were born premature and they're still with us and everything is progressing, we can thank the March of Dimes for helping with the NICU research and everything that's gone so far in helping us deliver babies that otherwise would be born too small, too soon, and too sick.
You heard him say it, and those are key words. Too small, too soon, and too sick. Helping to save babies together is not only a goal of Nick Sherfesee, but all the volunteers who help the March of Dimes tick. This new PD division board's doing a heck of a lot. You'll see them out a lot more. 45,000 is an aggressive goal. Let's help to push it over. Nick, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Maureen Vicaria, the Associate State Director for the March of Dimes, and Nick Sherfesee, our community banker with Wachovia Bank, and the chairman of the board of the PD division of the March of Dimes, for making today's Carolina People so special. Get out here this Thursday night. You can call 843-488-3463 to learn more.